Hello, hello everyone. Hello everybody. Let's go. The drift toward 趋势 vocabulary review. The drift towards 漂移 the drift towards collateral 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 loan collateral loan. Okay, yesterday we learned something about the US government. Oh, the swap, the debt swap, the debt swap. US government gives the IMF 5 billion subsidy. Moscow uses this money, this US dollar, to buy US bonds. And then Moscow issue their own bonds. And then the bank 1.4 to 1 debt swap. The old debt was nothing, and to swap the new debt is based on the U.S. bonds. Then, 20 years later, U.S. bonds earn equals will pay 37 billion to Mexico government. So that's in one word, the U.S. government give money to U.S. banks. That's all. The money flow. That's all the fun for the money flow. Okay. This is the debt swap. The essential. Essence. This is the essence of the debt swap. Today, continue. IMF becomes final guarantor. 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 Okay. IMF becomes the federal guarantor. In the following years, Secretary of State James Baker and Treasury Secretary Nicholas Brand flew to Moscow to work out a new debt agreements that would begin to phrase in the IMF as final guarantor, 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 guarantor. 哇，这个学念，哎，guarantor. Oh my God, guarantor. The IMF gave Mexico a new loan of 3.5 billion. The World Bank gave another 1.5 billion. And the banks reduced their previous loan value by about a third. The private banks were quite willing to extend new loans and reschedule the old. Why not? Interest payments would now be guaranteed by the taxpayers of the United States and Japan. that didn't permanently solve the problem either, because the Mexico economy was suffering from massive inflation caused by internal debt, which was in addition to the external debt owed to the bank. The phrases internal debt and domestic borrowing are code for the fact that the government has inflated 不是 A 啊啊是 A inflated 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 its money supply by selling bonds. The interest it must pay to entice people to purchase those bonds can be staggering and in fact interest on Moscow's domestic borrowing was drawing 3 times as much from the economy as the foreign debt service had been siphoning off. Notwithstanding,尽管，然而 the reality, Citicorp chairman John Reed, whose banks, one of Moscow's largest lenders, said they were prepared to lend even more now. Why? Did it have anything to do with the fact that the Federal Reserve and the IMF would guarantee payments? No, not so. Because we believe the Moscow economy is doing well, he said. Oh my god. 睁眼说瞎话. At the end of 1994, the game was still going, and the play was the same. On December 21st, December 21, the Moscow government announced that it could no longer pay the fixed exchange rate between the pesos and the dollar, and that the peso would now have to float in the free market to find its true value. The next day, it plumbed 下跌 plummed 39%, and the Mexico stock market tumbled. Plan stock tumble. Once again, Mexico could not pay the interest on its loans. On January 11, President Clinton urged Congress to approve U.S. guarantee for new loans up to 40 billion, Secretary of the Treasury Rubin explained it is the judgment of all, including Chairman Alan Greenspan, that the probability of the debts being paid by Moscow is exceedingly high. But while Congress debated the issue, the long clock was ticking. Payment of 17 billion in Moscow bonds was due with 60 days, and 4 billion of that was due on the 1st February. Who was going to pay the banks? This matter could not wait. On January 31, acting independently of Congress, President Clinton announced a bailout package of over 50 billion in loan guarantees to Moscow, 20 billion from U.S. Exchange Stabilization Fund, 70.8 billion from the IMF, 10 billion from the Bank of International Settlements, and 3 billion from commercial banks. International settlements.和解 International, the Bank of International Settlements. Bank of International Settlements. 我在学习英语，请帮我翻译。清算银行 settlements， 国际清算银行就是给钱呗。Brazil became a major player in 1982 when it announced that it too was unable to make payments on its debt. In response, the U.S. Treasury made a direct loan of 1.23 billion to keep those checks going to the banks while negotiations were underway for a more permanent solution through the IMF. 20 days later, it gave another 1.5 billion. The Bank of International Settlements advanced 1.2 billion. The following month, the IMF provided 1.5 billion. West banks extend 10 billion in trade credits. Old loans were rescheduled, and 4.4 billion in new loans were made by a Morgan bank. Syndication. Syndication. 联合组织什么意思？Morgan. The temporary loans from the U.S. Treasury were extended with no repayment date established. Ron Chernow comments. The plan set a fateful precedent precedent. A fateful precedent of curing the debt crisis by heaping on more debt. In this charade, bankers their marriage had turned into a pathetic charade. Play charades. In this charade, bankers would lend more to Brazil with one hand and then take it back with the other. This preserved保护了 the fictitious book value of loans on bank balance sheets. Approaching the rescue as a grand new syndication, the bankers piled on high interest rates and rescheduling fees. 天哪！我在学习英文，请帮我翻译，并且给我翻译细节。我列出翻译细节。Plan set a fateful precedent of curing the debt crisis by heaping on more debt. Set step present. Fateful 决定性影响。Precedent of curing debt crisis by heaping on more debt. In this charade, in this charade, bankers would lend more on Brazil with one hand, then take it back with the other. This preserved the虚假的 fictitious book value of the loans on bank balance sheets. Approaching the rescue as a grand new syndication, the banks held on. Pile on 把手堆起来，夸大，大幅增加。High interest rates and rescheduling fees. pile up, pile on. Okay. New word preserve 保护，这个是知道的。Approach, approach, faithful, precedent, precedent, precedent. Precedent. Set, create, establish. A precedent, precedent. Okay. Approach as. Set a precedent. Set a precedent. Approaching as this. Approaching the rescue as a grand new pile on. This plan set a faithful precedent of curing the debt process by heaping on more debt. In this charade, bankers would lend more to Brazil with one hand, then take it back with the other. This preserved the fictitious preserved the fictitious book value of loans on balance sheets, approaching the rescue as a grand new syndication syndication In this syndication, the bankers piled on high interest rates and rescuing fees. By 1983, third world governments owed $300 billion to banks and $400 billion to the industrialized governments. 25 nations were already behind in their payments. Brazil was in default a second time and asked for rescheduling, as did Romania, Cuba, and Zambia. The IMF stepped in and made additional billions of dollars available to the delinquent countries. Delinquent countries. The Department of Agriculture, through its Commodity Credit Corporation, paid 431 million to American banks to cover payments on loans from Brazil, Morocco, Peru, and Mania. At the conclusion of these agreements, the April 20, 1983 Wall Street Journal editorial editorialized that the international debt crisis is, for all practical purposes, over. For all practical purposes, over. Not quite. By 1987, Brazil was again in default on its monstrous 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 1 trillion debt, this time for 1.5 years. In spite of the torrent of money that had passed through its hands, it was now so broken that it couldn't even buy gasoline for its police cars. In 1989, as a new round of bailouts was being organized, President Bush, oh my God, announced that the only real solution to the third world debt problem was debt forgiveness. The only real solution to the third world debt problem was debt forgiveness, perhaps through repetition. We are running this whole history on into the ground. Running into run into the ground, but here are just a few more examples before moving along. That forgiveness, perhaps through the repeat, repetition, we are running history into the ground. We are running this history into the ground. But here are just a few more examples before moving along. 讲得过于乏味。running this history into the ground. But here，那这里还有几个例子。run something into the ground. Run something into the ground. monstrous run something into the ground, run something into the ground. 过度使用导致贬值。Approach us 什么意思来着？ Approaching us 将什么视为？将视为 approach us approach 提议 make purchase to something. Argentina. By 1982, Argentina was unable to make 2.3 billion payments that was due in July and August. The banks extended their loans while the IMF prepared a new infusion in the amount of 2.15 billion. This restored the interest payments and gave the Argentina politicians a little extra spending money. 7 months later, Argentina announced they could not make any more payments until the fall of 1983. The banks immediately began negotiation for the rollovers, guarantees, and new IMF loans. Argentina then signed an agreement with 350 creditor banks. Creditor banks. To stretch out payments on nearly a fourth of its billion debt, and the banks agreed to lend an extra 4.2 billion to cover interest payments and political incentive political incentive. The IMF gave 1.7 billion. The United States government gave an additional 500 million. Directly, Argentina then paid 850 million in overdue interest charges to the bank. By 1988, America had again stopped payment on its loans and was falling hopeless behind as bankers and politicians went into a huddle to call the next bailout play. Somehow the payments had to be passed on one more time to the taxpayers, which they were in the form of new loans, rollovers, and guarantees, as summarized by Larry A. Saget at University of Chicago. There isn't a U.S. bank that would not sell its entire Latin American portfolio for 40 cents on the dollar, were it not for the possibility that skillful political lobbying might turn up a sucker willing to pay 50 or 60 or even 90 cents on the dollar. And that sucker is the US taxpayer. As mentioned previously, this history can become repetition, repetitions, rep, repetition, 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 repetitions, repetitions, repetitious, repetitious, and boring. It would be counterproductive. Counterproductive 适得其反 counterproductive productive counterproductive to cover the same sordid story as it has unfolded in each country. Suffice it to say that the identical game has been played with teams from Bolivia, the Dominican, Dominica, and almost every other less developed countries in the world. The need for convergence,需要达成共识是吧？ The need for convergence. 收敛，协调发展，统一的必要性，协同发展。The need for convergence. This sets the stage for understanding the next phase of the game, which is unfolding as these words are being written. This sets the stage for understanding the next phase of the game, which is unfolding as these words are being written. These words are being written. It is the inclusion of China and the former Soviet bloc into the grand design for global government. As with all the other countries in the world, the primary mechanism being used to accomplish this goal, at least in the field of economics, is the IMF World Bank. The process is the transfer of money from the industrialized nations, which drags them down economically to suitable common denominators. 2. The acquisition of effective control over the political leaders of the recipient countries as they become dependent upon the money stream. The thing that is new and which sets the stage apart from previous development is that the apparent crumbling of communism has created an acceptable rationale for the industrialized nations to now allow their lifeblood to flow into the veins of their former enemies. It also creates the appearance of global political convergence, a condition which therefore theoretician Richard Cooper said was necessary before Americans would accept having their own destinies destinies determined by the governments other than their own.就这个意思。which drags them down economically to a suitable common denominators. Denominators. 不太好用。Just money for the international nations, which drag them down economically to a suitable common denominator. 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 A suitable common denominator. Denominator. To the curse of effective control over the political leaders of the recipient countries as they became dependent upon the money stream. Acquisition. Acquisition.获得 acquisition of effective control, effective control, the acquire acquisition of effective control over the political leaders of the recipient countries as they became dependent upon the money stream. A thing that is new and which sets the stage apart from the previous developments is that sets this stage apart from previous developments. is that the apparent crumbling of the communist has created an acceptable rational 共产主义的表面瓦解，为工业化国家提供了一个合理的借口。Apparent crumbling, acceptable rational, 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 rational. For the industrialized nations to now allow their lifeblood to flow into the veins of their former enemies. Lifeblood flow into the veins. Vein. It also creates the appearance of global political convergence, a condition which the CF theorist Richard Cooper said a condition which the condition which Sears said was necessary before Americans would accept having their own destinies determined by governments other than their own. 是必要的，才能让美国人接受自己的命运由其他政府来决定 ，have their own destinies determined by governments other than their own. By the government determined their own destination determined by governments other than their own. 这件事共产主义瓦解提供了一个可见，是工业化国家这些结束之全球政治趋同现象正在形成，全球一体化、协调发展，这是雷德克所说的，美国人接受外部政府控制的前提条件。什么意思呢？描述了资金流向如何被用的，以及全球趋同的表现如何影响美国人政治态，明显带有批评和警惕色彩。从工业化国家转移资金，这种转移将投至一个适合的水平。随着接受国的政治领导人变得依赖这些资金，获得对他们的有效控制。新的，其实这个阶段区别于先前发展的是，共产主义表面的崩溃为工业化国家提供一个可接受的理由，是他们现在可以让自己的命脉流入敌人的血管之中，这也营造出全球政治趋同的表象。我所说的，在美国人接受其他国家政府而非自己的政府决定其命运之前所必须的条件。Which drags them down economically to a suitable common denominator, and to the acquisition of effective control over the political leaders of the recipient countries as they became dependent upon the money stream. The thing that is new and which sets the stage apart from The thing is the thing the thing that is new and which sets this stage apart from previous development is that the apparent crumbling of communists has created a apparent of the is that the apparent crumbling of communism has created an acceptable rational for the industrialized nations to now allow their lifeblood to flow into the veins of their former enemies. Vein, veins of their former enemy. It is also creates the appearance of global political convergence, a condition which their researchers said was a condition was necessary before America would accept having their own destiny determined by governments other than their own. China joined the IMF Bank 1980 and immediately began to receive billions of dollars in loans, although it was well known that she was devoting, devoting a huge portion of her resources of military development. By 1987, China was the IMF's second largest borrower, next to India. In the end, the transfusions sorry, the transfusions have grown at a steady pace ever since. A steady pace. The bank has asserted that loans will encourage economic reforms in favor of the private sector. Yet none of the money has gone to the private sector. All of it is funneled, funneled, funneled. All of it, all of it is funneled into the government bureaucracy, which in turn wages war against the free market. In 1989, after small business and farms in the private sector had begun to flourish and surpass the performance of similar government enterprises, China's leaders clamped down on them with harsh controls and increased taxes. Vice Premier Yao Yiling announced that there was too much needless construction, too many private loans, and too much spending on luxuries such as cars and banquets. Banquet, banquets. To stop this excess, access, stop this access. He said it would be necessary to increase government controls over wages, prices, and business activities. Then there is a question of why China needs the money in the first place. Is it to develop her industry or natural resource? Is it to fight poverty and improve the living standard of her citizens? Just Brewer answers. The bank's defense of its China policies, the bank's defense of its China policy is especially puzzling because China itself is going on a foreign investment binge. Yes, binge, investment binge. The World Bank gave China money at zero interest and then China buys property in Hong Kong, the United States, Australia, and elsewhere. An economist with Citibank's estimated that China's direct investment in property, manufacturing, and service in Hong Kong alone topped 66 billion in 1984. China had a net outflow of capital of 1 billion. Moreover, China has its own foreign aid program, which has given more than 6 billion in recent decades, largely to leftist governments. The Great Deception 大衰退 it is others' contention 结论 contention it is others' contention that the much heralded demise of communists in the Soviet bloc is a mixture of fact and fantasy. It is fact at the bottom level of communist society, where the people in truth rejected it long ago. The only reason they appeared to embrace it for so many years was that they had no choice as long as the Soviets had control of the weapons and the means of communication. The people had to accept their fate. But at the tip of the pyramid of state power, it is different. But at the tip of the pyramid, pyramid of state power, it is different story. The top communist leaders have never been as hostile to their counterparts. In the West, as the rhetoric suggests, rhetoric suggests, they are quite friendly to the world's leading financiers and have worked closely with them when it suits their purposes. As we shall see in the following section, the Bolshevik Revolution actually was financed by wealthy financiers in London and New York. Lenin and Trotsky were on the closest of terms with these moneyed interests. Moneyed close of terms with these moneyed interests. both before and after the revolution. Those hidden liaisons, liaison, liaison. Those hidden liaisons have continued to this day and occasionally pop to the surface, whether we discover David Rockefeller holding confidential meetings with Gorbachev in the absence of government sponsorship or diplomatic purpose. In the absence of the Great Deception, its authors contains that much higher. 这是作者的主张。It is the author's contention that the much heralded heralded demise of communists in the Soviet bloc. Demise 瓦解，死亡，终止。Demise. Demise. 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 Of communists in Soviet bloc is a mixture of fact and fantasy. It's a mixture of fact and fantasy. It is fact that it is fact at the bottom level of communist society, where the people in truth reject it long ago. The only reason they appeared to embrace it for so many years was that they had no choice. As long as the Soviets had control of weapons and the meanings and the meanings of communication, the people had to accept their fate. But at tip of But at the tip of the pyramid, the state power is a different story. The top communist leaders have never been hostile to their counterparts in the West as Rhetoric suggests. Rhetoric. Rhetoric. Has never been as hostile. 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 They are quite friendly to the world's leading financiers and have worked closely with them when it suits their purpose. As we shall see in the following section, the Bolshevik Revolution actually was financed by wealthy financiers in London and New York. Lenin and Trotsky were on the closest of terms with these moneyed interests. Moneyed interests, both before and after the revolution. Those hidden liaisons, liaison, 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 liaisons. Those hidden liaisons had continued to this day and occasionally pop to the surface. We discover David Rockefeller holding confident meetings with Carnegie in the absence of government sponsorship or diplomatic purpose. Diplomatic, 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 holding confident meetings. Confidential meeting. Confidential. 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 Confident. Confidential. Confident. Confidential. Confidence. Confidential meetings with America. In the absence of government sponsorship or developers. It's not unreasonable to imagine a scenario in which the leaders of the communist bloc come to realize they cannot hold themselves in power much longer. There comes a point where even physical forces is not enough, especially when the loyalties of those who hold the weapons also begin to falter. Begin to falter. 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 With economic gangrene creeping up the legs of their socialist systems, they realize they must obtain outside financial assistance or perish. Perish. In such a scenario, quiet agreements can be worked out to mutual, 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 mutual advantage of all negotiations. The plan could be as simple as a statue of liberty play in a college football game. The appearance doing one thing as a cover for accomplishing something else. Well, Americans are prepared to accept such deception on a football field. We cannot believe that world financiers and politicians are capable of it. The concept is rejected out of hand as a conspiracy theory. Nonetheless, in this scenario, the serialized we theorize it is agreed among the negotiators that the Soviet bloc needs financial support. It is agreed that the Western nations have the capability to provide it. It is agreed that the best way to move money from the industrialized nations into the Soviet bloc is through international agencies such as MMF, World Bank. It is agreed this cannot happen until hostility between world systems is replaced by political convergence. It is agreed that future conflict is wasteful and dangerous to all parties. Therefore, it is finally agreed that the Soviet bloc must abandon its posture of global aggression, while the Western nations continue to move toward socialism. Necessary steps for the long-range goal of merger into a world government, but in doing so, it must be ensured that the existing communist leaders retain control over their respective states. Respective states. Respect. Respect. Respective. Respect. Respect. Confidential. Okay, that's all for today. 这就是资本家和这个独裁政府沆瀣一气，目的就是为了搞钱。我保证你的统治，然后你被我搞钱就行了。现在川普好像跟习近平也是在搞这个，所以啊，任重而道远呐，这里边问题很大呀。That's all for today. Tomorrow we should learn we should repeat the red channel. Okay. 是 repeat 的产生。Okay, I think that's all for today. Plumber, 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 plumber. Stock Turnbull, 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 Stock Turnbull. The mice, the mice, the mice, the mice set a precedent, 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 set a precedent, precedent. Approach us, 海岸 monstrous, 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 monstrous. Run something into the ground, run something into the ground. 听到是 confidential, confident, respective, respect. 完全不一样。Okay, that's all for today. Tomorrow we will continue. We will repeat this section. China. Okay, Red China. We should learn more about the Red China. Okay. That's all for today. Thank you guys. Bye bye.